It is totally okay to be nervous about your marriage green card interview. Hi guys, my name is Ksenia. I make videos for people who are going through the family green card process. I'm not an attorney. My videos are based on public information, my own experience, and the experience of my subscribers. And the purpose of my channel is to give you guys the confidence to go through this process completely on your own. Let's talk about how you should behave during your interview to maximize your chances of success. So tip number 1, always be honest. USCIS officers will ask you a series of questions about your marital relationship and about your eligibility for a green card. And it is extremely important to be honest with your answers, especially in situations where you may not remember or truly don't know the answer to a question. It is perfectly okay to say that you don't know or that you don't remember, so that a USCIS officer doesn't accuse you of misrepresenting information, which is a very serious accusation and can cost you the entire case. Next, try to keep calm. Interviews for anybody, whether it is for a job or an immigration benefit, tend to be very stressful. But keeping calm doesn't only apply to being nervous. It also applies to managing your frustration or even anger. Some interviews can get quite out of hand, especially if a USCIS officer is suspecting something fishy in your case. They may get a little bit aggressive with their questioning. They may get less friendly in the way they speak with you. It is important that you maintain your composure, stay calm, and try not to fire back with unnecessary remarks. A USCIS officer may use it as an additional fuel to find more things in your case to deny it. Next, be professional and prepared. Make sure that you are dressed appropriately when you show up to your interview. All the documents that are requested from you in the interview invitation letter should be brought to the interview, but it is even better to organize them into a file or a folder. Even if you have already submitted these documents, you want to bring the originals and the copies to the interview. Additionally, if you have any more evidence that you would like to present to the USCIS officer, do make sure that any originals that you would like to take home are also supplemented with copies of those documents. Next, do not argue with your spouse during the interview. Some spouses will erroneously assume that it is okay to have an argument in front of the officer because it will show that their marriage is real. That, on the other hand, shows to the officer that you and your spouse do not get along, and they can use this as a fuel to separate you and then ask your petitioner to withdraw the case. Next, do not be too friendly with the USCIS officer. While generally you want to appear pleasant, you shouldn't be laughing, cracking jokes, having a side conversation with your spouse. A USCIS officer may take it as a sign that you generally don't take your case too seriously. Do remember that a USCIS officer, no matter how friendly they are, they're still at their job and they are not your friend. Next, do not make assumptions about what the officer is asking you and simply listen to the question. When a USCIS officer asks you a question, you just want to answer that question with a straightforward answer instead of trying to figure out where they're trying to steer the conversation. For example, if a USCIS officer asks you, "Do you or your spouse have any children?" Simply answer yes or no. For some couples, a lack of children may be looked at in society as not a good sign of a relationship or marriage. However, you know your marriage best, And also you and your spouse are free to do whatever you want. Do not make an assumption that a USCIS officer is trying to catch you, that if you don't have children, that your marriage is not real. Do not try to provide an explanation why you don't have kids. Simply answer yes or no. Next, do not talk too much. We already kind of mentioned this in the prior tips, but you don't want to provide an answer that is too lengthy. When a USCIS officer asks you a question, don't go into the entire backstory or prehistory for this answer. Simply answer the question. And the final tip is keep moving forward into the interview. You want to finish the interview to your best ability. If you decide to stop the interview, that may put a bad taste in their mouth. Generally, you want to power through. Even if a USCIS officer is not being super pleasant to you, do not respond to them in the same manner. Keep your composure, remain friendly and calm, and try to finish the interview on a good note. Thank the officer for the opportunity to present your case and to discuss it. And also, that applies to those of you who have a minor inconvenience that is getting in the way of your interview, where you are possibly considering not attending and rescheduling. Try to avoid that at all costs. Even if you have an important work obligation or something going on, even if you're feeling a little bit under the weather, still power through and go to your green card interview. Rescheduling your interview, trying to postpone it, will delay your case by many months. If you have any more questions, I do recommend that you check out 2 additional videos on my channel. One of them talks about the 45 most common interview questions, and the other video is dedicated to some of the best bona fide marital evidence that you can present in your marriage green card case. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and I hope to see you guys in my next videos. Bye!